everybody. Good evening. Welcome to a special episode of Not Songwriting Simplified. I don't know why that graphic's been on there. I apologize for that. Should be Sunday Night Live. I don't know why any of that is there. I think pretty much I've used the wrong stream key. That would not be a surprise to me because I've totally not been with it all day. So anyway, I'm going to have to go and edit all of that after the show and make sure it's all correct afterwards. So sorry about that. Anyway, I hope everybody is okay and has had a good week. I think there is some kind of sporting event on tonight. I don't actually know. Yes, it's Super Bowl Sunday. Now, I've heard a lot of people saying this in a very funny way. I've heard people saying it as Super Bowl licks, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, Super Bowl LX. I cannot believe we are at LX. For those of you that know your Roman numerals, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's it's pretty amazing. Now, I'm not really a massive American football fan. I have been known to watch it, and I also have been known to actually enjoy watching it. But, you know, I don't follow any particular teams. I like a good game when it's good. But for me, nothing really compares to, you know, sports where you carry the ball, as well as pass it. Nothing to me compares to rugby union. If you've ever watched rugby union, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's far more brutal than American football. I'm Scottish, so, you know, as far as we're concerned, here in Scotland, American footballers are all wussies because you wear padding and helmets. Whereas we play a far more aggressive and violent sport, similar shaped ball, but no padding. And certainly no helmets. And American football is all a wee bit stop-start, whereas rugby union, the game flow is very, very continuous for the most part. And actually, if there is like stop-start happening in a rugby union game, everyone's a bit pissed off, and it's regarded as not being a high-quality game when that happens. So, yeah. I personally prefer rugby union, but yeah, nobody mentioned Italy. Yeah, exactly. What a game that was. Speaking of rugby union, the Six Nations Championship is going on at the moment, which is basically the four home nations of the UK, plus France and Italy. And it's going to be a corker, I think. Scotland have not had their greatest start to the tournament ever, but hopefully they will pick up we'll pick up as we go along. Especially when we play England. So here's hoping, John Hathwaite, looking at you, buddy. Here's hoping that we beat England, and you know, continue to win the Calcutta Cup aspect of the Six Nations Championship. Anyway. Enough sport, because this is not a sport channel. As you can see above my head, it says Fender Studio Pro. So that's the name of the game. We are talking Fender Studio Pro. But we can also talk Studio One as well, for those of you that are still on Studio One version 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're not really going to talk about Studio One version 1, except for historical purposes, because that's kind of where it all started. But, you know, basically Studio One is as old as my daughter Anna, who is 16. So, yeah, Studio One has come of age pretty much and has got married and now has a new name as a result. So I hope everybody has had a really great creative week. So today what we're going to focus on is we're going to talk about being creative and using the tools that are at our disposal in modern DAWs, especially in Fender Studio Pro 8, and you know, how we can actually get better at using what is there. And so that's what I want to talk about. So let's start with you guys in the chat talking about what you have been doing in Fender Studio Pro 8, if you're using it since it's been launched. You know, have you written some songs? Have you done some mixes? Have you used Studio Pro 8 in a show context? And if you have, what were the successes? What were the wins? What were the things that you observed that you think, hey, maybe this could be improved to make the whole experience better? If you're a mix engineer, I want to hear the same thing. What have been your wins in terms of using the software, but also what things do you observe that you think, hey, actually, this would be great if this was improved. So I want to hear those kind of things. And the same if you're a songwriter, if you're a composer, if you're an arranger, and you're using the score editor and all of the tools that come with that. I want to hear, what you find has been really helpful and what you've been working on. But again, also, what things do you think we could improve and tidy up and make better? Because it'd be good to have a discussion around those kind of things and how we actually use the tools that are available in the program already, and some that have been there since version 1 as well. So I think it would be beneficial if we talk about those things this evening. So for me personally, seeing as I'm the only one actually talking to a microphone, the rest of you are going to have to type. Yeah, I've done a few mixes in Fender Studio Pro already, but most of my work that I do these days, I still do a lot of mixing, but I don't do as much mixing as I used to. Most of my work now is either session work, doing keyboard parts, doing bass parts, or doing, backing vocals, things like that. But I also do voiceover work as well. So I do continuity announcing for British TV and British radio, but mostly radio, not so much for TV. And so those are the kind of things that I use Studio Pro for these days. And then there's the second aspect of what I do professionally, which is composing and arranging. So I do a lot of composing for low budget films. I do a lot of that. But I also write arrangements for orchestras and for big bands as well. And I'm using Studio Pro for all of that. Plus Fender Notion as well. And sometimes I still use Notion 6, although Notion 6 is kind of in its last days now. And that's been publicly announced. But yes, so I'm using a combination of Fender Notion, Notion 6, and Studio Pro 8 to do session work, voiceover work, and composing and arranging for various people that hire me to do those kind of things. So, and the wins, I think, are the feature set in Studio Pro 8 and the improvements to mixing in particular, like the channel overview, the arrangement overview. I love those. From an arranger's point of view, the arrangement overview is fantastic. The improvements to the chord track and the chord detection and the chord assistant. Chord assistant is really good. Personally, I don't really need it, but I know that there are songwriters who would find it really, really useful. Especially if you're a songwriter that maybe has quite a limited kind of harmonic vocabulary. And maybe you're used to using maybe 5 or 6 chords in maybe 3 or 4 keys. And that's the majority of your songwriting. Well, the cool thing about the chord assistant is it will maybe even stretch your harmonic palette and suggest some chords that you may not have considered before that may actually add a new harmonic dimension to your music. So I think things like the chord assistant are very, very, very powerful now. I mean, the chord track and the chord picker, that was already pretty good, but now it suggests what other chords you might want to use. I think this is a good thing. On Wednesday, I showed one particular aspect of the chord assistant that I think is going to be particularly powerful. And that is there is a whole bunch of preset chord changes. So if you're struggling for ideas, or you have a melody line, but you're not really sure what chords will fit that, if you basically create a chord in the chord track and you open the chord track and then you open the inspector, there's a section there in this. It's a little bit tucked away, this feature. And I hope that they actually bring it out a little bit more in the open so it's much easier to access. But when you do that, you will find that there's a whole bunch of preset sets of chord changes that are in different styles, different configurations. They are based off different songs that are popular, or they are done in a style of a particular composer, particular songwriter or arranger, and kind of their harmonic style. And they're in different genres as well. And the cool thing is, if you happen upon maybe a combination of a preset set of chord changes, and then you kind of amend it, change it, make it your own, substitute some chords out, as we've talked about before, using, third related chord substitution theory that I've talked about here on Wednesdays. And I've also talked about tritonal substitutions, maybe substituting some chords out, making the chord preset that you've used your own, and you like what you have, and you think, maybe I might use these chords again in the future, either for a verse or for a chorus. You can save those as a preset for the chord track. That is a fantastic new feature that I think is going to be immensely powerful. So those are kind of, for me, those are big wins as a composer, as an arranger, and recording is so much easier than it's ever been. And, far easier access to track presets and channel presets than ever before. Making, my default go-to plugins for this guy, the Nord, using the Fender Rhodes sound at the moment, or one of my basses, dead easy, because I can just drag and drop that in there and then I'm ready to go. And I'm using the Rumble for my basses. There was one preset that I made in Ampire. I made it myself because the one and only bass amp in there it's okay. It's not the best, so I basically tweaked it and made it my own a little bit more, and I brought in an IR into Ampire from another bass amp source, and it's an impulse response from a particular bass amp, and I dropped that into Ampire, and I made my own bass sound, basically, for Ampire. It's my own little preset. And I used that for ages. But now I'm using the Rumble. I don't really need that anymore. The Rumble is actually really, really good. There's a great number of bass amps to use. The Mustang Native is great for guitars, although I'm not a guitar player. But I've been experimenting with my flugelhorn, with the guitar amp sims as well, and the pedals, the new pedals you get in the Mustang Native, to try and come up with some really creative sounds for sound design with my flugelhorn. I'm treating my flugelhorn like a guitar, basically. The next thing I want to try is I'm saving up some money to get the new Akai Iwi, because my old one is basically out of date, doesn't work with Studio One. It just doesn't work. So I am looking to get the new Akai Iwi, which is basically like a wind synthesizer with saxophone fingering. And I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use a combination of different things and Mustang and some other sounds to create some unique sounds for the Iwi. So that's kind of one of my next things to do this year in 2026. So that's pretty exciting. Let's see what you folks have got. So first of all, let's go see who is here. And actually, Billy was not the first through the door. It's Craig. He says, go NE Pirates. Pirates? Patriots, even. Maybe it should be the New England Pirates. But it's the New England Patriots, yes. And then 10 minutes later, it was Billy, followed by Tony Stringer, and Daryl Harrison, and Steve is here as well. Sean Aaron is here cheering on for the Seahawks. Just Bob is he was here. He says he's on his way home from visiting family and will watch the replay. Have a great show. Thank you very much, Bob. I appreciate it. Dwayne is here. Kyle is here. And I've noticed that what used to be the little purple wrenches you get if you're a moderator, they are now shields. So I guess that kind of makes you like police officers now, you guys that are moderators. So go easy on the folks in the chat now that you have a shield instead. Who else is here? John Hathaway is here. JW is here. He says just 15 minutes to go until I'm out. Yes, I understand that a lot of people will be wanting to go and get over to the game when it starts in a few minutes. It's only like 12 minutes away, I think. Kyle says he learned a bit more about Tonalic. Yes, Celemony Tonalic is freaking awesome. I don't have it yet, but I've been watching all the videos of people that do have it, and I've been learning a lot about best practices for using it and all of that. I am going to download it and install it and get it up and running so that I'm able to maybe even do some live shows on Tonalic. For those of you that are interested in it, I will certainly do it. But I've just been too busy lately. It's been a chaotic month, as you well know, for me, with my dad dying literally a month ago tomorrow. And I've been trying to sort out all of his things. I've been trying to get cause of death, which I now have. And I have a funeral planned. The funeral is going to be on Monday. Not tomorrow. Next Monday. So, Monday the 16th. So, how does that impact Sunday Night Live? Well, what that means for Sunday Night Live is that next week's show will be cancelled. There will be no next week's show. There will be, on Wednesday this week, we will have a Sunday Night Live. My God, what is wrong with my brain? On Wednesday, we will have Songwriting Simplified. For sure. Okay, this Wednesday, there will be a Songwriting Simplified. And then next Sunday, there will be no Sunday Night Live. Okay? Because I will be down at my dad's place. And so I will not be available. I'll not be in the studio. And then I'm debating whether there will be a Songwriting Simplified the week after. Okay, so this Wednesday's show coming will happen, but Sunday next week and the Wednesday after, certainly Sunday is not on, but the Wednesday after might be. It depends, because I'll be back on the Tuesday. And so we will see kind of where, how I feel when we get closer to the time. I may well make an announcement about that on the Tuesday when I get back. Let's see who else we have. Alterigomia. I'm never going to get that right. Is here. Ken is here as well. Love Audio Production says using it mainly to record voiceover. Featured it briefly on my live stream the other day, which is awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you've done that. John Hathwaite says definitely been using the show page for last couple of weeks. Yes, you've been on tour. I've seen some of your footies on Facebook. It's been excellent apart from a crash caused by a sustain pedal that sent nonsense to a VST that crashed inside Studio One. Biggest update would be to have a default still image on the video player in the show page to have the band logo between set list items. That's a great little idea. I like that. Something that you can basically go back to, kind of like you do in a PowerPoint presentation, where you want to intersperse items with your identifier. Dwayne says, I've been opening my capture files from previous gigs I've done in Studio Pro. This means I have up to 30 songs on one song page. Wow, good grief. Yeah, now that's interesting. If you have 30 songs on one song page, so are you talking about the... Okay, so you're basically using markers to have the 30 songs lined up in the song page. Okay, that's pretty cool. To be honest, I have no experience with capture at all. I have seen it used. I have heard about it being used. I have never used it. You know, I got my first Studio Live mixer for my band when my band was still going, and it was the Studio Live Series 3, the first Studio Live Series 3 mixer, actually, 16 channel, and I had that, and that was great. That now lives in the garage. It still works, but it's in the garage because I'm retired from performing, and so I have no need for it or use for it at the moment. And I have the 32SC, which is sat in front of me at the moment, which at the moment is still on the old firmware, and I'm still using Universal Control 4. I have not upgraded yet. That is something that I have yet to do. I just haven't got around to it. Things have just been too chaotic at the moment. But once my life kind of settles back into kind of a normal rhythm again, I will be upgrading and getting all of that squared away, and probably there will be maintenance updates for both Universal Control and another firmware update for the mixer, I would think, by the time I get to installing it all. So I will probably miss out on all of the fun issues that there may be. Let's see. Kyle said Kyle and Billy are blessing each other, which is amazing. Premeditated plan. That's Keith is here. He says, welcome back to the UK. Let's see. Alter Gomeo says, I have been using Tonalic Essential as a complement to Tune Tracks, Sweet, Easy Drummer, Easy Keys, Easy Bass. Adding a simple guitar to my song template, it works nice. Yeah, I would think it probably does work nice, actually. The guitar tonalics, from what I have understood from the videos that I have seen, are very, very cool. And the way it interacts with the chord track, the way you can revoice the chords, that is incredibly powerful, especially for me that's not a guitar player. So, yeah, I will be getting it. And then I will have to decide whether I'm going to subscribe and get maybe the studio version or something like that, where I might actually get some more instruments as well. Although, you know, I am a bass player. I am also a drummer. That's where I started out. I started out playing drums when I was about 2 years old. Played my first professional gig on drums when I was 6. So I started out as a drummer. But I don't really play drums much anymore. Mostly because I don't have anywhere for my drums to be. I would love to have a space where I could record my drums and do some session work on drums, but I don't have that ability anymore. So my drums are in use full time at the church that we attend in Edinburgh, and they are in the drum booth. Secret Squirrel is here. Hello, my friend. He says, has Fender ended the Zoom meetups? I haven't seen any posted since before NAMM. They were stopped because of NAMM, fundamentally, and the rebrand and everything else. So there is no official word on them coming back as yet. I think they probably will. They did run for like 5 years, almost 6 years. But there's debate as to whether they will come back or not. Hopefully they will. The powers that be have not yet made a decision on that. So I don't know is essentially the answer as to whether they're going to come back or not. I hope that they do, personally, from my own experience, because I ran the UK Studio One meetup for all of those years, for all of those 6 years. And so I would like to continue doing that. They were great fun. What I will say, though, is certainly maybe the last year or the last 2 years, maybe, attendances of those started to kind of wane a bit. And you would have meetups where there's only like 4 or 5 people. And, you know, they would not be that great. because of that. And it's, you know, maybe also the same 4 or 5 people that are attending all of the meetups. And so, you know, it's entirely possible that they will look at attendance numbers and they will look at, you know, the fact that you maybe have the same kind of 5 or 6 people, 7, 8 maybe, that are basically attending all of them. And they may decide not to bring them back because attendances have just dropped off. Certainly the first 3, maybe 4 years of the Studio One meetups were great. They were extremely well attended. I'm thinking back to even just 2 years ago where I ran the UK one, and we had a meetup just before Christmas, and I think we had like 40 people. And that was amazing. And, you know, if we had one of those things on a sustained level where you had like 30 or 40 people regularly, I'm not saying have like 40 people every month, but, you know, if there were like 20 to 40 people in attendance every month at each of the different meetups. I mean, obviously there are some where they are in countries where there's not that many users, and so it's great that they opened it up and said, you know what, people that don't live in that country can go and attend that one. Like I did, I went to pretty much all of them, mostly because Gregor couldn't. So, you know, me being basically the company employee, I would basically go around to all of the meetups and talk to people. And basically find out how they're using the program and what they're liking, what they're maybe not so liking, and, you know, that kind of thing. I would like those things to kind of continue because it gives us as a company, speaking on behalf of Fender now, it gives us as a company an opportunity to meet our customers and find out what they actually think in the moment, in free form speech, without kind of like typing away and composing an email or a feature request, or something like that. It gives us a chance to actually talk to customers and find out what they think. And then to be able to feed that back to the product team has been really, really good. So, and, you know, a lot of the features that you saw in version 7 and some of the features actually added to version 8 came out of discussions in the Studio One meetups. So it would be great if we could get those things back again. But like I say, I don't actually know. It would be nice, but I can't guarantee that they will come back. I will certainly argue for them coming back in the meetings with management that I attend. I will certainly argue for them bringing them back, but I don't know. I don't know whether they will or not. We shall see. So, keep an eye on things. When you go and you visit my.fender.com, just periodically scroll all the way down to the bottom of the homepage and see if there's anything there. And, who knows? Hopefully those things will be brought back. The other thing that it would be great to bring back is the mixed critiques as well that were done by Gregor and Joe. Now, those were obviously paused because of NAMM, because both of them were at NAMM. So I have more confidence that the mixed critiques will come back because they were a part of the Studio Pro Plus package. So I have more confidence that those things will come back because they are part of the subscription. Whereas the Studio Pro meetups, which I think is what they would be branded to, I don't know whether they will happen again. We'll see. I shall miss the dulcet tones of Nate. Yeah, you're not kidding. Man, that guy. Nate is a great bloke. For those of you that don't know who we're talking about, he is a fabulous musician and he is a fabulous mix engineer. And he does a podcast, which is great. And he has the proper late night radio talk show host's voice. It is the perfect radio broadcast voice. And he really should be in radio, in my opinion, because he would be a terrific radio host with a voice like that. Repair My VCR says, if they if they stick to audio instead of talking about other things, I think it would be better. I take it you're talking about the meetups. Well, yeah and no. I think they served two purposes. Number one, they served as an opportunity for Fender/Presonus to connect with customers. Plus, the secondary purpose was for you guys to get to know each other and make connections and maybe form collaborations. And on that point, I think that has been one of the great successes of the meetups, is that you folks all got to meet each other, you got to know each other, you've all formed friendships, and some of you have worked together on different things in you know, either in workspaces or something similar. And to me, that's the biggest win of the Studio One meetups, was that you folks all got to meet and you all got to know each other and you all formed friendships and you all started working together. That to me was the best part of those meetups. So, you know, if we talked about other things and we just chatted like we were in a pub, to me, I think that was a good thing. And that's largely how I ran my meetup. It was a chance for everybody to just hang out and get to know each other. And yes, I would make sure the conversation stayed within kind of a little bit of margin, but trying to keep it focused on audio and using Studio One and all of that kind of thing. I tried to keep it in that ballpark, but I did allow some latitude for people to talk about other things as well. You know, there were distinct things that were off, like politics and religion, and anything that's basically divisive was off the table. But certainly, you know, anything audio related, talking about music that we're working on, how we're using plugins, what third-party plugins we're using, what third-party virtual instruments we're using, stuff like that people could talk about all day, and people could just talk about their lives a little bit as well, which gave everybody the opportunity to get to know each other. And like I said, form friendships, and that's definitely worked. And I think that's the best thing about it. And I don't see Steinberg doing anything remotely like this. And I certainly don't see Avid doing something like this for their customer base. And I think it's a great shame that other manufacturers are not looking at what we're doing and saying, hey, we should be doing those things too for our customers, because that would be great for our customers to get to know each other and form collaborative efforts and those kind of things. I think it's one of the best things that has helped strengthen this community of users of, you know, Presonus and now Fender products is how well we actually get to know each other. And, you know, me sitting here talking to you, you guys watching on your computers or on your big screen TVs or on your smartphones or on your iPads, wherever you're watching this show, you guys all know each other in the chat. And that's all because we all have a common bond, because we're sharing an interest in the same software, and you know, we're largely involved in the same kind of aspects of music, and so you guys have all got to know each other, and I've got to know all of you, and I have myself formed friendships with people I never imagined. You know, I've discovered people I never imagined I would ever get the chance to discover, and that's all because of you know, the Presonus and Fender experience that I never thought I'd ever have. You know, my job is amazing. I don't just do tech support. I do QA testing, and I talk to you guys, and I make videos. And there is nothing I would ever change. And I'm really, 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 really phenomenally blessed to be in a position where I can interact with you guys and form friendships with customers. And it's great. I love it. I love doing what I do. And it wouldn't have been possible if it hadn't been for, you know, Presonus reaching out to me, you know, all those years ago, way back in like 2013, 2014. And I formed a bit of a relationship with them. They formed a bit of a relationship with me. And it's been great. And, you know, I love what I do, and I wouldn't be doing it certainly, if it hadn't been for things like the Studio One meetups and doing my live shows like this on Sundays and Wednesdays. And it's been great that I've had an opportunity to get to know you guys. And, you know, I'm not going to stop doing these shows. I will keep doing these shows for as long as YouTube has the feature set for doing them. And for as long as I have, you know, a working setup that will allow me to do them. And for as long as I have my mental faculties and physical ability to do these shows, I'm going to keep doing them. And I'm going to keep talking about the products that we know and love. I'm going to continue talking about Fender Studio Pro 8 and whatever that becomes as we go forward into the future. You know, I am assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming eventually it will become Studio Pro 9, Studio Pro 10, and so on and so forth. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens. But, you know, for as long as this is still a thing, and for as long as there is still a DAW, and for as long as there is still notation software, and for as long as the software team in Hamburg are still the same, and they're still the friends that I know, love, and work with every day of the week, I'm going to keep doing this. For sure. Boris says, that's what made my transition to Studio Pro so smooth, the community. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you are definitely not alone in that feeling. I think a lot of people have been able to get over the initial shock of the rebrand. And for you guys, it was definitely a shock. For me, I've had time to absorb it because, you know, it's something that I have been knowing about for a long time. But for you guys, it has been a shock. And I totally get that. I totally understand that. And what has been so good is how this community have come together and helped each other work through that. And so we're at the point now where we're not really talking about the rebrand anymore. We're talking about, hey, I found this bug. Hey, I found this bug. Or I had this third-party plugin crash in Studio Pro. And these are the kind of things that we should be talking about. This should be our focus, is how we can fix the things that need fixed in the program and how we can make the program better. Those are the things I want to focus on. I don't want to talk about the rebrand anymore. For me, I feel like I've done it to death, you know. And fair enough, it needed to be done to death. It needed to be talked about. And, you know, there are new people coming into my channel all the time. And so they need to be caught up to speed. So I know some of you have heard me talk about the rebrand several times in a row now, and you're probably very bored of it. And so am I. I don't really want to talk about it anymore. I will talk about it if people ask now. So if you have like any questions about the rebranding, we can talk about that. But otherwise, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I think we've smacked that pony very nicely. Thank you. But, you know, the community, I think, is a big part of all of it. John Hathwaite says, another tweak to the show page would be a preload audio patches and preload video in the player. It would stop the slight glitches when quickly changing patches. I can totally see that, having things cached in. Yeah, having all your patches load into cache ahead of time, I think that would be a good thing too. I don't know how that would be managed. I think you would probably have to have a megaton of RAM to make that work. And then you'd have to remember when you've finished your show, you'd have to clear the cache. That's something you'd have to remember to have to do. Otherwise, the next time you open up the show, it's going to have a bunch of old cache data in it that when you run the show, is just, you're going to be writing more cache data on top of, and it will just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, and that will, of course, make your show less stable. So if there is that feature added where, you know, all of that data gets cached in advance when you start up the show, then I think that'd be a good thing, but you'll have to remember to clear the cache every time, so that cache folder for the show doesn't get massively obese. But I think that's a great suggestion. And John, I recommend you go over to feedback-software.presonus.com and go and add that, because I think that's a fantastic suggestion. Lowen says, anybody upgrading from the Atom to Fender 16, oh, you're talking about the Motion 16. Okay, I was wondering whether the feature is worth me actually upgrading. Now, here's the thing. The Motion 16 and the Motion 32 controllers, they have been advertised, and you can go look at them in the Fender Studio portal on fender.com. You can go take a look. They will not be available until the springtime, which we're, by the way, not far away from. So we're probably looking, I don't know, somewhere between April and May that they will be available and you can go get them. But I think there have been a couple of demos on them already to kind of sweeten it a little bit for you. I know that one of the NAMM videos that was done, Oscar, the product manager for those devices, actually did a little bit of a rundown on the motion controllers. They are basically like upgrades for the Atom and the Atom SQ, with new features that have actually been requested by folks that are using those devices all the time, plus improvements, plus, you know, a little bit of an imagination from Oscar and his team. So I think, you know, I don't know because I don't have any, well, I have the Atom SQ, and for me, just having had a look at, I don't have one of the devices, unfortunately, but having looked at the 32, the Motion 32, which is the one that's most like the Atom SQ, which is sat over there on my Mac setup, for me, I think it would be a good upgrade. The pads, the key bed for the pads is much improved. That's one of the first things that I did note that Oscar said about the 16 and the 32 is the key bed is much improved. Using, you know, the key bed is basically made by Fatar, and Fatar are a company that make key beds for all kinds of other brands of keyboards. So Yamaha's, Casios, and all of those keyboards, their key beds are made by Fatar. So the key beds for the new motion controllers are all made by Fatar in partnership with the PreSonus hardware team, aka the Fender Studio controller and interface team. So yeah, so I think they would be great. They would be fabulous, but definitely go check them out on the website if you want to see what features are there. He says, Radio Tuck From Pit shall continue and maybe expand. Well, that's an exciting thought. If you are considering expanding it, that's great. John says, I'd be happy to talk it through with the devs if that would be helpful. Yeah, the best thing to do is actually knock up a feature request over at feedback-software.presonus.com. That's the place to go and do that, John. Yeah, by all means, detail it out, provide some screenshots. You can do that over there. Let's see. Kyle says, this is a wonderful community that has been built around Jonny Guide and Jonny Lipsham. Yes, thank you very much. And it's very much a shared community because a lot of you folks that have come over to my channel are also subscribers to his channel. So we basically have a shared audience. And that's because Jonny and I, in the early days, you know, we did a lot of things together, like Songwriting Simplified on Wednesdays. That was actually a show that we did together originally. And now, of course, Jonny works on Wednesdays, so it's no longer possible for us to do the show together. So I basically host it myself full time. But I'm hoping that very soon this year, we will be able to get Jonny on the show on a Wednesday as a guest. That would be cool. That would be very, very cool. I'm very excited about that possibility. We just need to check what day he's going to be available for us to do that. Which Wednesday he's going to be available for us to do that. So that would be very exciting to get him back on the show. Billy Morgan's talking about the weather. Summer, mid-70s all week. Yeah, you guys and your Fahrenheit. Come on, guys. Get with the rest of the world, please, and start using Celsius. Lauren says, On one of the sites I saw with the 16, you get a 6-month Studio Pro and a different video. They said that you get full licensed copy of it. Depends. I believe that depends upon the device. And also it depends upon the interfaces as well. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful about which videos you're watching. Number one, make sure you're watching the videos that are on the Fender Studio channel. And also the NAM videos. So here's kind of how it works. I don't know absolutely for certain because I don't work in the hardware team. So, you know, go check on the website to be absolutely certain, because all of this information should be there. But some of the interfaces come with a 6-month demo of Studio Pro 8, and some of them come with a full perpetual license. So you need to make sure that you check that out for absolute certain on the website, okay? Because some people can misspeak on videos. I've done that myself. I've already done that 3 times just tonight. Let's see. Yeah, Keith retracted his message. I saw the message. Oh, he says, already done a feature request for the logo thing. We'll be doing other ones for several others this week. Yeah, there's lots of people that have actually, you know, been making their own variations of the desktop icon, which is on your taskbar and on your computer desktop. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I have no opinion on it. Personally, it's just an icon. The same with the branding on the start page. It's just branding. But, you know, we've done that one to death. But one thing I will say about the desktop icon and, you know, as it appears in your taskbar if you're a PC guy, and also if you're a Mac, if you've got it pinned to your dock. If you also have the free Fender Studio app on your Mac or your PC as well, as I do, the two icons are very similar. They are very similar. They have the same Fender white spaghetti logo and then the same studio in blue and the same wavy lines in the background. Now, here's the difference. The difference is the wavy lines on the Fender Studio icon are a brighter blue, and the ones on the Fender Studio Pro icon are darker. So if you got either decent color vision or you're like me, you have synesthesia, you can hear the difference between the two colors. I know which one is which. Plus also, if you're not really sure, one of the things you can do is you can do a little bit of editing in the properties of the desktop shortcut icon. If you right click that on a PC, certainly, you can go into properties. You can change the desktop icon to any picture you want. But you can also change the text for the tooltip that shows up when you hover over it. So you can make sure that it says Studio Pro 8. And then the other one for Fender Studio says Studio, Fender Studio. So that basically if you're kind of looking at it going, which one is which, it will differentiate, and the tooltips will be different. And it'll be a little bit easier. So for those of you that are watching the football, the American football, I should say, because it's not real football. Seattle are 6-0 up. So good start for them. D-Sound Recording Studio says, I have the Quantum HD8. Yes, so do I. I wonder if anyone else has a slight pop or click on start and stop playback. I know Reaper does the same. The Resolve is flush effects on stop. Anyone else? I don't think I have actually noticed anything like that. But we can test that theory. Because I have Studio Pro open in the background for my theme tune. So let's play a little bit of the theme tune and see if we get that sound. Get that pop, shall we? I didn't hear anything. The only thing you might be able to hear is the sound of the microphone picking up me stabbing at the buttons on the transport controls on my fader port. But I'm not hearing anything like that. Oh, it happens when a track is armed. Okay. Well, let's go and arm a track, shall we? In fact, let's do this in a new song, because I think this makes sense to test this in a completely brand new song. So let's go do that. Let's open a blank song. Whoops, my finger just got in the way of the fader port. So let's go over to the screen over here and let's create a new track. There we go. Not 6 of them or 8 of them even. We'll just do one. And we'll arm it. So I've got this armed, and you can see that I've got this armed. When a track is armed and it changes from record to playback. Oh, okay. So you're talking about when you're disabling the record, right? So let's record something. Let's record me just saying, let's record me. And now that I've done that, I'll turn it off. Let's record me just saying, let's record me. Nope. I don't think I'm noticing anything there. So I'm changing from recording to playback. Let's record me just saying, let's record me. Is Jonny bashing us tonight? First Fahrenheit, now in our football. No, I'm not bashing you. I'm trolling you. That's different. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the United States is the only country in the world that uses Fahrenheit. And pretty much is also the only country in the world that has a game that they call football that isn't actually football, because you rarely ever kick the thing. I'm kind of being facetious, because I'm well aware that what you guys call football actually developed out of the game of rugby league, because you have inherited the whole kind of start-stop kind of thing. When the tackler is brought to ground, the tackler then has to be released, and then you set up another play. It doesn't quite work like that in rugby league. In rugby league, you release the tackler, and then the two players, the person that's been tackled and the person that's tackled them, then kind of they let go and they go back to their respective positions, and what they call the scrum half then rolls the ball back with his foot, and then the tackled player then puts the ball back with his foot to the scrum half, who then feeds it back through to the back row again, and off they go again. So it's constantly, you're passing the ball backwards to go forward, and every time you tackle the person, you have to release them, and then they push the ball back with their foot to the scrum half feeds it back to the backs, and so it continues. So it's kind of semi-continuous, whereas American football, you tackle the person, everybody stops for about 30 seconds. And I think that's why a lot of American footballers get injured, because you stop for 30 seconds, your muscles start to cool off, and then you set up for the next play, and then you actually do the next play, and your muscles then have to suddenly burst into life again. And I think that's where things like tendons and ACLs and things like that can get ruptured and torn. But that's a whole nother thing. But yes, I am basically trolling you guys. Because I have American family, so I am uniquely privileged to be able to troll Americans, because, like I say, I have American family, so I'm allowed to do it. Next, go and say we drive on the wrong side of the road. Well, you do. You absolutely do. Don't get me started on other things about America, but I'll be fair. I work for an American company. I've been to the United States many times. I have spent many years studying American culture and American politics. And so whilst I would not consider myself an expert in American politics, I would describe myself certainly as being extremely knowledgeable and well researched on the subject, without actually taking any side particularly. But like I say, I have American family. I've been to the United States many times. I kind of have a bit of an understanding with Americans, and I work for an American company, probably one of the classic American companies. It's probably one of the largest American corporations of all time. So, I have some understanding. I watch American Rugby League up here. They drink beer while they play. They don't drink beer while they play. Not in professional games anyway. Maybe local games. Maybe local amateur games. There's some drinking that goes on. I'll tell you, in Scotland, in non-league games, non-professional games, amateur games of rugby, in Scotland, they are, if you've ever watched rugby union and you've watched a Scotland game, you see how violent the play is there, how aggressive it is. You should watch amateur Sunday, Saturday afternoon, Sunday club rugby. It's mental. How people don't end up in hospital, I don't know, but they don't. Such is the level of violence. It's pretty amazing to watch. I used to play rugby for a while. And, I wear glasses, and you have no idea how many pairs of glasses I went through. I would have to buy a new set of glasses after each game, but I can't play without them on because I can barely see that far in front of my face without my glasses. So anyway, we are at the end of the show, and there is a bunch of wussies running around in padding and helmets, throwing a leather windbag across a field that you may want to go check out. I will be going to check it out. And I'm hoping that it is a good game, like last year's game. Last year's game was fabulous, although it was kind of decided after the first quarter, I gotta say. So I'm hoping that this will be a bit of a tight game, bit more interesting. The last time these two teams met, which I think was a few years ago, it was a very tight game then. So I'm hoping that these two teams will be nice and evenly matched, and we'll see some classic Super Bowl football. All right, so there we go. That's the end of the show. I will see you folks all on the next show. Like I say, it's not going to be the next show is not going to be on next Sunday, but I will see you on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified, and then there'll be a bit of a break, and then I'll be back again after that once I've sorted myself out after after my dad's funeral and all of that, because, that's going to be, a pretty impactful event. But thank you very much, everybody, for all of your support. It's not been the greatest start to 2026. In fact, it's been pretty much the worst start to 2026. The worst start to a new year that I think I've ever experienced. So thank you very much, everybody, for all of your support and for your kindness and for the kind messages that I've received from you folks. You guys have been terrific. And I'm going to try and, rebuild my life and rebuild, how I do things on this channel again. As I start to move through into the next phase of grief, and hopefully it'll be easier to manage as we go forward in the grief process. I know it kind of comes in waves, and sometimes it can hit me unexpected, and it's certainly been doing that already. But thank you once again for all of your support, folks, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the game, and I'll see you then. Good night, folks.